Now let's take a look at the next question that deals with our interpretation of questions that refer to dual passages. Now, in the last session we have done one question which is based on an individual passage, that is only passage 1. Now with the same set of passages, same set of lines, let's take a look at an interpretation for questions based on passage 2. Now let's see how this can be done. Now, just to refresh your memory, passage 1, we were talking about the 5 senses, the 5 physical senses that man is blessed with, and these 5 physical senses make a lot of sense to us in the sensible world, but these senses in normal situations are not at all recognized as important. Now, compare that with the contents of passage 2. In passage 2, we are talking about knowledge. A person can know something and apply that knowledge, and that knowledge is what a person can do in terms of applying it to something that he perceives as wrong or right. In this case, the last sentence, if you see, it says, wrongdoing does not seem strange in the former case, but it does in the latter. Now let's take a look at the question and then see what part of the passage or which passage we have to focus on. Now, if you look at the question, it says, according to passage 2, wrongdoing does not seem strange. Wrongdoing does not seem strange when, that's the question, when the wrongdoer, that means we have to interpret this particular answer or the answer to this particular question in the perspective or from the perspective of a wrongdoer. Now, where is wrongdoer mentioned here or wrongdoing mentioned here? The first part of it, we are talking about knowledge and how we may or we may not choose to use that knowledge. In the second part, we are talking about, in fact, in one sense he has knowledge, in another he does not. That means we have some sense of whatever we are doing. In some sense, we know that something is right or something is wrong. Now we know he's talking about right and wrong only because we've seen the next sentence. Wrongdoing does not seem strange in the former. Former means what? Wrongdoing does not seem strange in the former. Former referring to in the first case. That means in one sense he has knowledge. That means how do we interpret this? Wrongdoing does not seem strange when he has knowledge of the fact that he is doing something wrong. But it does in the latter. What does in the latter? It appears strange in the latter. When does it appear strange? It appears strange, that is wrongdoing appears strange when he has no knowledge. When he has no knowledge that whatever he is doing is wrong. So former and latter are 2 areas or 2 words that they might use to trick us out of the right answer. So we should not fall into that trap. So here what are we saying? We are saying former case and latter related to somebody who is doing wrong with knowledge and somebody who is doing something wrong simply because he has no knowledge. It will be strange when a person knows that he is wrong and still continues to do the same mistake. It is not so strange if the person does not know he is wrong and therefore he is doing whatever he is doing. So that's the meaning of the sentence. Now let us interpret that in the context of the answers. So what are we saying? Wrongdoers or doing wrong with knowledge is strange, and doing wrong without knowledge is not so strange. This is what we want. So when the wrongdoer applies moral knowledge to the situation, if he is doing wrong and if he is applying moral knowledge to the situation, then what is the problem? He will not do anything wrong. If he does not do anything wrong because he is applying his moral knowledge there, then obviously it will not apply, it will not seem very, very strange. What do we have to interpret here? We have to interpret that it does not seem strange. That means the latter case. It does not seem strange because Wrongdoing does not seem strange in the former case, but it does in the latter. So here we are saying wrongdoing does not seem strange in the former case when he has some kind of knowledge of it. So the wrongdoer is attacking a person incapable of self-defense. Now what is self-defense here? Does all wrong have to do only with physically attacking a person? We have to interpret this as physically attacking a person because we are talking about self-defense. At a very superficial level, it has to be self-defense and attack. It has to be, related in the physical sense. It can be a verbal assault also. Self-defense can also be in terms of, in terms of verbal duel that we might face. But it is a little bit far-fetched. So this is kind of very narrow in its perspective, so we can eliminate it. Why have we eliminated the first one? We have eliminated the first one because it says it applies morals. The wrongdoer applies moral knowledge to the situation. So if he applies moral knowledge to the situation, then probably it is very strange to continue doing something that is incorrect. So this is also wrong. Because here, remember, does not seem strange. That's what you need to interpret. So, it does not seem strange when the wrongdoer is in full control of his faculties of reason. Is in full control of his faculties of reason. If he is very reasonable, if he is very sensible, there is no guarantee that he will do something that is only right or something that is only wrong. So, that's very difficult to say here. So, we can eliminate this. So, he fails to think about what is right and wrong before committing the act. He fails to think about what is right and what is wrong before he commits the act. So, what about relating that to the answer here? Before you analyze this, go to the next one. Wrongdoer is doing something that she believes is right. Now, if he believes it is right, then why would it be strange? Correct? So, you will agree with me when I say that if he knows whatever he is doing something that he or she believes that it is right, then why would he do something that is wrong? Then the entire question would be misplaced because we are essentially talking about wrongdoers. Alright, the context of the passage is that when a wrongdoer commits a mistake, does he know that he is committing a mistake or does he not know? Is he doing something wrong, knowing fully aware that what he is doing is wrong? Or is he doing something because he does not know it is wrong and he perceives it to be right? This is the question, correct? So that eliminates for us answer option E. Now revisit answer option D. Answer option D says fails to think about what is right and wrong before committing the act. Now before committing the act, this part of it seems to be an extension, but this could always be brought in as part of interpretation. Now, if you observe carefully, before committing the act is not mentioned here. Okay? But we have to interpret it in that manner simply because if a wrongdoer has knowledge about what he is doing is wrong, that means he knows about whatever he is doing before he is committing the act. Alright, so in spite of knowing that whatever he's doing is not going to be acceptable or is perceived as something that is wrong, if he still continues to do it, then it is supposed to be something that does not seem strange because he is going ahead and doing it because he knows that he is wrong. So, this is quite a difficult thing to interpret or quite a difficult sentence to interpret as such because of the negatives that are used and also because of the fact that the passage uses words like former and latter. So correlation becomes a little difficult. So like I said, there are two parts to this sentence. In one, he has knowledge. In two, he does not have knowledge. So former is where he has knowledge and latter is where he does not have knowledge. So if you categorize your information like that, then it is less difficult to solve it. In fact, it is less strange if you want to use the same kind of vocabulary here. So I hope you have understood how to tackle individual questions in dual passages.